With great mojo comes great responsibility. Mojo 50.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. It's Mike Filip, and I've got my French great aunt here, Greg freaking Meakin. We were just do you know that Greg speaks French? I asked him if he speaks French, and he started just belting it out in that filthy pig Latin. And I said, that is so gay, man. And he started laughing. He said, you gotta say that on air. So to all of our French listeners, I'm sorry I was raised disliking the French. I'll teach you a Bible study, though, no problem. Greg, I'm so glad you escaped Quebec. Welcome back to the show.
Dude, I cannot get through our pre-shows and our intro without busting up, Mikey. You do this to me all the time. You insult French Canadians and the gay community in one sentence.
Oh, and I don't leave out the ones in France and Louisiana either. They're all the same.
Oh, and then I think you called me old, too. Did you call me like a grandma or something? What was that all about?
Great aunt. Yeah. I thought of grandma, but I didn't want to insult you.
I'm technically disabled with my new hip, so you want to insult me on that too? You want to insult disabled people too, Mikey? You know, you're still edgy, man. You're still AM radio shock jock edgy, man. You really are. It's fun. I say it every time, but I love getting back and getting on the air with you, Mike. I really do.
Say that in French.
A couple of weeks. Been a couple of weeks. I feel like I got, withdrawal symptoms here from being on Dueling Citizens with Mike Filip. Episode number 34 today. Numero 34. Here we go.
Say all of that in French now. All of it.
Michel Philippe, il est un chien, okay? Il est un chien, okay? Okay, I'll make it abbreviated. Mike Filip is a dog. That's what I just said in French.
All right. All right. So I'm wearing, I told everybody yesterday that I got a Alberta 51st State hockey jersey in the mail from Greg.
Oh, yeah.
The day before yesterday, I got a notice in the mail that there was a package for me with Canada Post, and I thought to myself, I don't recall ordering anything. Like, I didn't buy anything. Nobody asked me for my address to send me something. And so I had no idea what it was. Well, here it is. I'm wearing it right now. I wanted to save it for when Greg was on the show. And so I'll back up here so you can see the logo. And this, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're listening on Mojo 50, you'll have to go over to Rumble to see it. But that logo was created by Greg's son. Greg's son did that, and he's telling me that there is kind of some hidden esoteric Illuminati symbolism in the new Alberta 51 logo. His son is a 33rd degree Mason and in line to be president someday of Alberta. So we're going to go through that. I'm going to put it on the screen for you all today. And we're going to talk about that. Also, Greg, just a little while back, a few weeks ago, was here in Alberta, and he brought the hot, blasting Arizona wind with him. And so he went to Frog Lake to speak with the Indians there. And they are, it turns out, on board with the whole idea of the Alberta 51st state. And so we're going to have him go through that story. And I think Val went with you, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Yeah,
yes, she did.
She's great. She's great. And
Yes.
listen to this. Matthew in California says that he's been hearing about AB 51 this week in various outlets of information. Yeah, because of the efforts of people like Greg Meakin, like Benjamin Ebel, my good friend Peter Downing. I've been an Alberta statehood guy for a very long time. I didn't talk about it as much before, but you know, it's kind of still a pet project of mine. And I've had people reach out and they were angry at me. But what about the Federal Reserve dollar and the corruption in D.C. and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I'm aware of all that. And I have thought it through, okay? And so, no, I'm still of the opinion that Alberta would be better off outside of Canada. And that's, you know, you're not going to sway me. You're not going to bring up something I haven't thought of. I would be shocked if you did. But yeah, Peter Downing did an interview with Fox News about AB 51, and then all of a sudden it started popping up on Forbes and the National Post, and all these different news services have ran with it. And so I just, Peter came to me, Greg, because I'm his pastor, and he said, you know,
Right.
Pastor Mike, is this a foolish endeavor? Is this something that I should just kind of forget about and worry about things with the church and my family? And I said, you know what, Peter? I said, I'm going to pray that God blesses whatever you put your hand to, including your family, your church, living for God. And if this is something that's on your heart, you go ahead and do it. And I don't think it's an evil thing at all, or a waste of time. It's what he's interested in. That's where the man is at. And so I have, I just prayed for him and asked that God would bless him in what he's doing. And he did. He was able to land that interview with Fox News. It was actually Pastor Artur Pulaski that passed along Peter's number to the man at Fox that contacted him. So this is really cool. And look, maybe the U.S. dollar is going to crash. Russia will nuke it, and it will all have been a big waste of time. But it killed a few hours in the day, you know. So, Greg, let's get into the first things first here. Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about your trip to Frog Lake and what you think? Why did you come to Alberta, and what do you think now? Or do you want to talk about the logo?
Isn't that a great title, though? Seriously. Why I Came to America and What I Think Now.
Yeah.
My new book is Why I Came to America and Can We Even Fix This Mess?
Can we?
You have to read the book, and it's not out. And if it comes out, I'm going to charge you like $200 for it. How about that? Mikey, where do we start today?
Where do you want to go, Frog Lake or the logo?
No. You know what? Before, I'm going to take a quick second here. I want to talk about Peter Downing. I never know what to expect, when I chat. But you brought him up, and I just want to take a minute. We have so much to cover today. I really, really want to talk about these jerseys and the logo and stuff. Yep. I really want to talk about Frog Lake, but I want to talk about Peter for a quick second here.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows that I almost joke. I'm an MA, okay, which is a media analyst. And I was once asked what a media analyst does, and I said, well, they analyze the media. Hey, dumbass, here we go, right? Media analyst. But I've been a talking head person. Anyone knows this. I've been analyzing talking heads and media training since the 80s, Mike. Since, really the Rush Limbaugh days, pre-post days. And Peter, as you say, Peter Downing, I first chatted with him, I'm guessing probably maybe a year and a half ago. One of the nicest gentlemen on the planet, Mike.
Yep.
One of the nicest gentlemen on the planet. And I know you have your connection with him, with your church. I know he was a Lexic guy. He's now converted to an AB 51 guy. But it sounds funny. I'm just so impressed with him. And I would, if I were a CEO in the private sector, he's the first guy I'd hire to be my media guy, to be my, my guy out there, just well-versed and all that stuff. As a side note, Peter and I have more in common than he even knows.
And we're both East Coast kids. We were both beer-drinking hockey players in our younger days. We believe in the world-changing events in the world, like the Trump 2016 election. He says Peter comes up with catchphrases like Texans used to be Mexicans when it comes to the Alberta 51 movement. So I just want to kind of reach out there. I don't know if Peter's listening today. I know there are people out there who know him, but I just want to say I'm impressed. He's one of the first guys I'd hire as one of my leaders, my spokesman. And that says a lot. I don't throw around stuff like that very often. And as a side note, I think I'm going to have to, I haven't talked to him, I haven't confirmed this, but I think, I'm pinching myself, I think he was actually a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, Mike, when he was young. I think so. And if that's the case, I'm of course from Montreal. I'll let Peter in on my little secret. Whenever I write something, anything including books, I make sure that I trash the Toronto Maple Leafs at every opportunity. Right?
No kidding.
No, there's a handful in the book that you had in your hands. As a matter of fact, I'm out of books. Would you ever be able to get a copy of Why I Came to America into Peter's hands? Because I don't have any copies. But
I'm not giving away mine.
In the book, that leads, I was actually going to do a contest. How many times does Greg Meakin trash the Toronto Maple Leafs in his book? I might do a contest.
All right. That sounds good.
So, Peter, there we go. So that's Peter. I really just a shout out to Peter and compliments on the work he's done on the air. He was on Val Olson's podcast twice and has done, as you say, he chatted with Fox News Digital, reporter named John Brown. Excellent kid, John Brown from Fox. So Peter's done a good job, and I wanted to reach out before we even start talking hockey jerseys or whatever as a side, because I know how close you are with him, and he truly is a nice guy. So there you go, Mike.
I have seen God move. I've seen God move things for Peter and his family. Peter is somebody that God loves, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's an honor for me to have him as a friend. With that being said, hey, you know what the other beautiful thing about Alberta becoming a state would be?
What's that?
We might have a shot at winning a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. It seems like Canadian teams can't stay in the playoffs anymore.
You know, I joked at mandatory. We had, the jerseys have been all over the social media this week. I think you saw, including your photos. And mandatorily, I had one critic, and it's funny because he's a friend of mine down here in Arizona, and he said, "Oh yeah, Montreal Canadiens colors, right?"
Yeah,
it's a Canadiens away jersey. You know, we'd want more blue or something in ours, right, Mike? And I said, dude, with 24 World Championships, 24 Stanley Cups. I mean, I saw 11 before I was 23 years old. I thought this jersey might let Alberta win again, boys. Go to the Stanley Cup, go win a Stanley Cup. Because honestly, and I'm serious too, there's nothing greater in the world than winning a championship, whether it's the Stanley Cup or my Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl and stuff. So, but there you go. That's the first toe dip into the jerseys today, man. It's an exciting week for me because I can't believe the outpouring. I can't believe it, Mike. Really, since just kind of I came out rested, I took a couple of weeks off and then just launched, social media stuff with the jerseys and Carson's logo, and I'm getting emails left and right. Where can I get one? Where can I get one? And I'll probably be able to solve that before the end of the show here today. But
that's awesome.
Anyhow, so good stuff, man. The jersey thing, seriously, jerseys go back to before. For me, it's a tradition. Cultures have their traditions out there. Found some incredible cultural awareness things being in Frog Lake, which we'll chat about soon here.
Yeah.
But the cultural difference before you were born. I'm going off memory here. 1971 or two, and I got for the first time the most beautiful Christmas gift I ever had received in my life. It was an authentic Montreal Canadiens jersey, just like the one you have there. There's an authentic jersey with a beautiful number 29 and Ken Dryden, who was my hero at the time. And it's weird, but I said to your mom on social media yesterday, I said to Gloria, I said, when a man gets a hockey jersey with his name on it, seriously, they kind of act like 12, 14-year-old giddy kids because it's just so cool. It's so fun. But that started for me when I was 12 years old, and since I have really for truly special events or truly special friends, I gift them. There's one to Mr. Wayne Gretzky. There's one to Jean Beliveau. There's one to all the folks: Apollo Ono, Rosalind Sumners, Mike Filip, Gordon Kessler, Val Olson, Sheriff Mark Lamb, and even Greg freaking Meakin. I've got my own jersey on the back. It says freaking Meakin. But I still got to get the old crest pasted on there. So there you go.
I'm honored to be in that list of people right there. Yeah. I'll tell you right now. And what you said about a guy getting pretty happy about. Well, when I was in the car, and you can ask my wife, when I opened that package after I picked it up at the post office, the way it was folded, I immediately knew what it was, and I looked at Jen and I said, "No way!" And I had to get out of the car and put it on over top of the shirt I was wearing, and luckily it's been pretty cool out lately. So, but we're having kind of a in the town I'm in, right on the edge of Edmonton. They're having rides and booths and stuff downtown tomorrow. So after the show, I think I'm going to go downtown and run a test flag, see what people have to say about it in public. So, no, I thank you so much, Greg. This jersey, I'm probably going to, I'm probably not going to wear it very often. It's most likely going to get hung up in my office on display. And that's how this one's going to get treated. I don't want to wash it too often. I don't want to. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna change an alternator wearing it. Let's put it that way. So, thank you very much, my friend.
You know what, Mike? I'll tell you what. I never know what to predict. I'm getting emotional this show, Mike, already, right off the bat, because that's what it's all about. When you give. You give to see the joy in another person.
Yeah.
And when I heard it again, I love long form radio. You actually describing your experience of opening up the jersey, dude. I'm starting to get misty because I know what that feels on my end.
Yeah.
So seriously, I joke. I learned a long time ago about sales. I've been a sales trainer forever and ever and ever, and I learned it was a Zig Ziglar thing. It is because I believe all of life is sales. All of life is sales. But sales is not selling a product or service to someone. Sales is the gift of transferring one person's passion to another human being. That's what sales is. And I heard the passion from you. You made my day, Mike. You made my day. And just to hear that. And Gloria made my day yesterday when she said, after I saw Mike with his jersey, you just made him happy, and you make my family happy. And that's all I need to make me happy, Mike. I'm serious. I am serious from the bottom of my heart. So it'll be a nice show today, but don't we just get down to it? And you always get me misty in the first 10 minutes of a show, right?
Hey, we got 9 more minutes here. We have the greatest Englishman that ever lived, Andrew, over in the Americanuck Radio MeWe chat room. And you were saying that you just before the show I brought up Andrew, and you said that you have some family over there. Why don't you tell Andrew where your family is there? It's a pretty small island. It could be that they live like 10 inches from each other.
Oh, man, it is Andrew reaching out across the pond to you, man.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, small world. You know this, Mike. About last month, I did a show based out of England, Rio Bow, on WGN 324. And just to let Andrew know, first of all, top of the morning to you, mate. I can speak British too. But I've got my father's half of the family that I didn't even know till my 40s. You remember that, Mike?
Yep.
I never met my dad. They're all from Leicester, England, which is what hour outside of London. And I mean, I've got cousins. I've got, I lost my last aunt in the World War II generation, Aunt Margaret from Leicester, England. She passed during COVID, not of COVID, but during COVID, during the lockdowns. I couldn't travel over there. But she was the last World War II generation in my family. So Leicester, England, and a lot of people in England they're kind of following you, Mike, a little bit, whether we hear it or not, but the shares and stuff. So reaching out to people in England and London, I'll tell you what, they love freedom back there, Mike. I talked to my cousin Hazel. In Leicester. She's my age. And talking about the nightmare of the British healthcare system. Because I want to talk boots on the ground, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to read what the CBC tells me about it or CNN. So I'm talking to my cousin outside of London, and I can't believe the tragic stories of British healthcare right now. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's funny that you went there, because I found a story on the Gateway Pundit about a trend in medical assistance in dying, they call it in Canada here.
Sure.
Government suicide. It's so funny because they'll say it's cruel and inhuman to give somebody the death penalty for murdering somebody else.
Right.
But at the same time, killing someone that the healthcare system is so fantastic they can't help them. That's merciful. It's a weird thing. Yeah.
Oh, and we've had so many chats about this, Mike, and I already love this show because you never know where it's going. But I'll tell you what, it really occurred to me, and we talked about this live on air. I'm guessing maybe 2 months ago, and it occurred to me once I started seeing this crazy Saskatchewan press 5 for assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. I'm
saying, okay, it hit me between the eyes, and it makes me sad. But because I've lived half my life in socialism and half my life in capitalism, I've lived under socialized healthcare in Quebec. And what it was then to what it is now, a wholly different story. But I said, and this is what, it broke my heart, and sadly I'm going to write a chapter about this, is in socialized medicine, say what you will, it is socialized medicine, it's universal medicine, which is Canada, which is Britain, I think it's Australia, blah, blah. In all socialized medicine, they will allow their citizens to die.
Yep.
And that is because of that top-tier age bracket. In the insurance industry, it's called, the actuarial tables and stuff, whatever. In the insurance industry, it's why you can't get life insurance policies when you're 85 years old. The insurance companies, as a matter of fact, in the United States, they don't even recognize a human being who's older than 100. At 100 years old in the United States, if you have any insurance policies, they cash you out because there's no such thing as someone over 100 years old. But sadly, with socialized medicine, our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents, we've all lost in this last decade, Mike.
Yeah. All
of those folks, because they're older, it's more expensive to treat them. Well, you know what?
Yep.
The United States doesn't tolerate that. And you go to an emergency room in the United States, they'll save your life no matter who you are. They will save your life. We saw them save the life of that little football player who fell on the field. They saved his life twice before he got out of the stadium. He was dead, clinically dead twice before he got out of the stadium. That's United States healthcare. I will not take, there's a lot of tragedies down here, like up there, but I will not take anyone trashing the U.S. healthcare system because it is absolutely life-giving and amazing in many, many ways. Call 911 in the United States, and you see how many people are there to help you out and save your life. No matter how old you are, no matter how much money you make, no matter where you're from, you walk into an ER, they'll save your life, Mikey. So there you go. We talked healthcare of the day. Where do you want to go now?
Yep. They will save your life, even if you're a gay black woman, they'll still do it. Despite that. French-speaking gay black woman.
Let's do it sometime. I said, let's do a segment where you ask the question in English and I answer in French, dude. Seriously. It'd go over so big in Quebec. Let's do that sometime for fun. Maybe episode 50 or something. We're only at 34.
Okay,
right
let's try that right now. What's the fruitiest language in the world? Go.
Fruity, Parisian French. French.
Oh, you got to answer in the game.
Dude, no, from Paris. Not French-Canadian French. No, Parisian French. We had this talk, Mike. We had this talk. listen to either a male or female, a true Paris French person. And yes, you'll be thinking what I'm thinking too. So there you go.
But we'll still save them in America if they call 911. We got. All right, I'll tell you what.
Most beautiful language to me. Most beautiful language in the world to me. Probably Italian. But anyhow, that's another episode, isn't it?
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Tell you what, we got 2 minutes here. Let's go into our commercial break early, and then when we get back, let's talk about this logo that your son designed. I love it, by the way. It's awesome.
Dude.
I'm holding it up for the camera right now. Alberta 51 USA, and I have a digital graphic of it that we're going to throw on the screen, and Greg's son made some little hidden stuff that he's going to point out to us with it so that you can get a better look at it if you're watching on the video. And then we'll talk about Greg's trip to Frog Lake to meet with the Indians here in Alberta and their thoughts on things and just the whole deal. I love my friend Greg Meakin, I really do, and I enjoy these days greatly when he comes on. This whole thing with healthcare, really quick, Greg, before we go to our commercial break. Oh, look at that! My sound computer totally crashed and rebooted. So now I've got to kill a couple minutes here while I bring that back up for our commercial break. But
as soon as you were going to say something nice about me, Justin Trudeau shut you down.
That was it right there. There's certain things that will not be tolerated, and so. But no, I mean, look, when I was actually thinking, because I'm always preparing a Bible study, right? Like always. So I got into this this story about how the assisted suicide rate in Canada has it's gone way up, and what they're doing is relaxing the rules to where you qualify for assisted suicide. If you're poor, even just poverty, you can walk into an hospital and say, "Hi, I'm poor." They'll say, "Oh, come right this way, sir," and hook you up with drugs that will end your life. And I was thinking about this, Greg, and a lot of people, when they think of the word sodomite, they think about somebody that's into gay sex, right? Well, that's part of it. But actually, there's a lot more to it. And what was actually, when the Bible talks about the sin of Sodom, what we're seeing with medically assisted suicide and the homelessness in North America in the midst of all the abundance, that's actually a big part of it. And the Bible warns of that over and over again. So one of these days, I'm going to do a full Bible study on the biblical take on what a sodomite actually is, and what those cities were really guilty of. And it wasn't just everybody running around and having sex with each other. There was definitely that going on, but that was actually a symptom of deeper issues that we see very much alive in Canada today. And so we're going to do, and that'll be really good clickbait if I put, what's a sodomite? What is a sodomite? At the top of the video, I'll have all kinds of gay rights groups watching it, and then I'll tell them about Jesus. And so it'll be good. But I think we've got our commercial block back up here. So when we get back, let's talk about your son's new logo that he made for the Alberta 51 movement. And then we will get into your trip to Frog Lake. I'm really interested in hearing all about that. Yeah, mostly because then I don't have to work. I can just sit back and let you talk.
That's right. Whenever you need a nap, right?
Yeah,
or you need to go to the restroom, just
tired.
Greg freaking Meakin. Have Greg freaking Meakin do a 10-minute monologue, man.
That's right.
10-minute monologue.
We'll bring Greg on a Thursday because this week's getting long. All right. Back after this with Greg freaking Meakin.
wake up refreshed, like you slept on a cloud. Get yourself the very best in bedding supplies today. You deserve it. Go to MyPillow.com, and don't forget our very special promo code, MOJO50, for incredible savings.
At Meakin Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Meakin Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Meakin Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at RoMikaDesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@RoMikaDesigns.com, or visit us on the web at RoMikaDesigns.com.
5 major food distributors have suffered explosions at food processing and storage facilities in the last few months. 20 more facilities have been destroyed by fires over the last 4 months. War in Ukraine drags on and holds the looming threat of nuclear escalation. U.S. inflation is officially reported above 8%. Mobs of people are whipped into frenzy by an increasingly unstable class of political elites. We live in interesting times. Political, economic, and financial collapse are all very real threats to our way of life. If the worst happens, make sure you and your loved ones are prepared with emergency food and supplies from preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water, Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change want to see the sea levels rise, and for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Flat Earth, the moon landing, JFK, 5G, Biden won the election. Hey, lovelies, does anyone have any new conspiracy theories? Because all the ones I know have come true. Join me, Ria Bow, here on Sunday Long Live Radio, live every Sunday of the year, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. UK, and 9 p.m. New South Wales. I'll see you Sunday.
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio shows. Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
I'm gonna walk them golden stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers. Well, I know when he calls me to my home on high, I'll walk them golden stairs when I die.
Americanuck Radio.
When Jesus says to me, well done.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio. This is Mike Phillip, and we've got Greg freaking Meakin with us today. Kind of a light day today. Yeah, we're kind of doing something a little bit different. Usually I do Bible studies every day and a little bit of preaching, but I want to talk about a little pet project of mine, and that is getting Alberta out of Canada. That's just something that's on my heart and has been for a very long time. And by the way, I keep getting, there's this guy that keeps sending me emails wanting me to publish an LGBTQ safety guide for online habits on Americanuckradio.com. And I've never responded to this individual, but they keep sending me this thing. So finally I blocked it. And if you want a online safety guide for LGBTQ individuals, I'm not going to put them on my website, but I will. I'll give you a little tip right now, okay? Don't randomly hook up with people on Grindr, and you won't get monkeypox, okay? There it is. It's that simple. Repent and be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. End of it. Right there. Greg, let's talk about your logo, the logo that your son designed. I'm going to grab it and put it on the screen here. And so we're all going to be looking at it. I know you can't see me here, but I'm going to throw it right on the screen so everybody can have a really good look at it. And you go ahead and just let us know what it is all about. In the words of Eric Clapton.
So cool. That's so cool. And shout out to Peyton Smith. Great guys. I mean, it's so nice to have that presented on your screen, Mike. I'm sitting here, and whether people know it or not, I'm a marketing guy. I'm a sales guy, and I'm sitting here with my Alberta 51 USA logo. I did a full poster on it, Mike, with laminated, and so I have, because I'm literally going to be hanging it in with Carson's other artwork. And I'm sitting in front of it, so I'm looking exactly what you guys are looking at right now. And I'll just give you a little background. It's okay to take a couple of minutes here, Mikey. Is that okay?
Yep.
The logo itself, this was designed by Carson Meakin, and that's my son.
Yep.
He's a twin. He's 33 years old, an old soul, incredible artist. He's been drawing since he was in diapers, dude. Anyhow, he and I collaborate on stuff because I'm a marketing guy. He's an artist, and we worked on this together because I said, "Here's what I want." By the way, he did the first cover of my book. He did the second cover. The second cover that's coming up in the new book. They're just great. They're going to be a series, just those covers and those books. Anyhow, the logo in front of you. This was the concept was I want to design a really, really special, unique. Really, what do you call it? Just original piece, a once-in-a-lifetime piece that was honoring, of course, the sport of hockey. It's a hockey jersey, but it's honoring Alberta. It's all honoring Alberta, the 51 folks who crave freedom. Everyone's just faith, family, freedom folks up there, Mikey. They are. So creating a logo, yet would also be a tribute to the actual people within Alberta, and also their cultural beliefs. So I didn't want to do a cookie cutter. You know, you can go online for $20, get a logo created, right?
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to do a work of art because I knew Carson could nail this thing, he did. We went through about 5-6 drafts. But anyway, came up to this. Let me go first. Do you see the bird in the middle?
I'm looking at it now. Yeah, there's a bird.
Okay. Yeah, the bird. You're a bird, Mike. You're a bird. Remember that South Korean insult? Eat the caramel, man.
You're a bird.
So the bird is this. That is a red-tailed hawk.
Cool.
And I made sure with Carson, we did a couple versions. I said, no, go real big on the red tail, okay? Because this bird is the most revered bird in Alberta and amongst all the Indian nations, which I didn't know.
Cool.
It's revered. It's revered for its leadership. It will guide you down paths. It's revered for its wisdom and its depth. It will even give you, which you know is huge in the Indian culture, it will give you visions.
It'll help you with your homework.
And moments of truth and stuff. So that's it. That's the red-tailed hawk. And I'll tell you, an inside secret is I learned this because I collaborated directly with the tribes up there. And we went through a number of different versions anyhow. So that was one of them. The second one came right from Greg freaking Meakin in our collaborations. You might see the number below the red-tailed hawk of 51.
Yeah.
A smidge obvious, I'm sure. We actually worked through that. And I said, Carson, I don't know why or how, but I see this thing, because it was originally, I think, red or blue. I said, I see this thing as black, pure black. I want 51 to jump out. And then he threw this draft by me that was the final draft, and what he did was he took my idea and he did a beautiful outline of it in white, which you probably see a trim in white.
Yeah.
This represents Alberta oil and Alberta pipeline.
I was thinking diversity.
Yep. There you go. It'd be a double meaning. It'll be a tribute to George Floyd, too. Whatever, Mikey. Whatever, man. Come on, man. So that's pretty cool. But I love it because when you look at the more I look at the 5s, the more I say that kind of does look like a pipeline. I mean, It's just a tribute to oil. What's hard to see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the shading is huge. The big A, where it's the background, it goes up red and then comes down brown.
I did notice that. Yeah, what's with the shading?
Transition brown, meaning the oil and natural resources of Alberta.
Okay.
And same thing with the shading up above. You know what? Seriously, maybe next episode. Seriously, I talked to Carson at length this morning. I said, do me a formal list. You know, because there's like 15 of them in here of these secrets, but or background. And maybe a quick little 30-minute segment with actually Carson on in the future. Seriously.
That'd be, he's welcome.
He'd be open to that. So anyhow, the other one, now if you'll see, this will be kind of the last one because I still want to have some secrets when the list comes out. You might see upper middle. You'll see teepees.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Okay. That was really kind of that was not even in the original design. Carson's original design, it was kind of like a black trim, whatever. I said, well, and then again, consulting with my Indian friends up in Alberta, with the Cree tribe, Frog Lake. We talked about it, and I said, I called back Carson, I said, you know what, I want to do a tribute. I want to do a tribute to the home front, to the teepees, to the Indian culture of how important the home front was to them. And if you'll see the design, it's clear that it's teepees and housing. This was brought up yesterday on Facebook by, believe it or not, one of the leader's sons yesterday. He says that represents the old-style pioneer Indian teepees. And if you'll see, you got the red teepees, but you also have the shadow behind it.
Yeah.
That is literally comparing yesterday's culture to today, Mikey. I mean, this is good stuff, dude.
I like it.
So
man.
We'll learn more about it. You'll see, I'll finish with the bottom right, which is I made sure, I said, make sure, Carson, do what we always do, hide your signature, your autograph. And you'll see bottom right, a little squiggly autograph.
Yeah.
You see it?
I do.
See, that's Carson's autograph. That's only going to be for this first edition. They'll never be signed like that again, just to identify them. So those are the kind of things we build into them. And I just wanted to make really it a special gift from Carson Meakin, from Greg Meakin, really to not only the tribes up there, but to everybody in Alberta who's craving freedom, Mike. I want to get you guys under the protection of the United States Constitution. When you're under the protection of the United States Constitution, life will feel as great as that beautiful logo on that hockey jersey, Mikey. There you go. There's my mini rant of the day, dude.
Nice. Let's talk about your trip to Alberta now that we've gone through that. How did this precipitate? Yeah. And it was really gracious of them to invite you up. And there's a lot of really, really great people on our reserves here. They're everywhere you go. There's people that aren't so, and there are people that are, and the reserves are no exceptions. Let's talk about your trip. How did that come about? We've got about 15 minutes left in the segment here. Just tell everybody. Take your time.
Sure. Oh, good. I love long form radio, Mike. As a side note, I've had so many inquiries about the jerseys and even the logos, standalone, the crest. People can just shoot me an email for now. I'm going to be releasing something on them probably in the next couple of weeks, but shoot me an email. My email's all addressed all over my website. But anyhow, side note, let's talk about Frog Lake. I'm going to take a few minutes here. I really am. This is a really, really special deal, and I think it was historic. I think it was symbolic. And it was not without its, I say, craziness. I've never driven more in my entire life. I cannot believe how just expansive Alberta is. I've never been there, Mike.
Yeah, it's a big place. But it's not as big as Quebec, but it's a large province, yeah.
It's incredible. Any of the greenies back east that says we're running out of land,
it's stupid.
Just needs to take a drive through Canada, dude.
Yeah.
So it was incredible. I was invited by the Indians. We've talked about this. They want to be called Indians because it ties to all their old treaties from the 1800s.
Yeah, okay, so whoa. Park it there, because I'm told that it is racist to call them Indians. They want to bring in all this First Nations and original peoples and blah blah blah. But you're telling me that no, they don't like that. They want to be called Indians. Explain that,
Mike. I'm telling you what. Remember, secrets on the inside come from Greg freaking Meakin, right? But seriously, I have to corroborate this because you know me. I don't go forward unless I got my ducks in a row and I've researched something.
Yeah.
We've had that talk a lot about social media and stuff. Anyhow, and this is directly from a tribal leader in Alberta at Frog Lake. Okay, Mike?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, why do you call yourself Indians? Like, that's like, the Washington Redskins. They quote the thought police language.
Yeah, we're told that's insulting somehow.
Yeah.
They don't see it that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyone in Canada, like you just said, quote, parroted, that, saying Indians is racist, right?
Yeah.
It has fallen into the public relations campaign of Ottawa and of Washington, D.C., and of the politically woke crowd. They want to outlaw these words, just like Quebec outlawed the English language on signs in 1970s Quebec. They want to outlaw these words because here's the deal. You'll hear words like indigenous. Now, indigenous, wonderful New Age words. Milky toast, vanilla words, indigenous, native, native, whatever tribes, whatever. Down here, it's Native American, Native Americans, whatever. They want to outlaw / cancel the word Indian because the word Indian itself is the way all Indians were described in the 17 and 1800s. Glow. It's in all the founding documents, whatever, where it is. I'm not a wonk on that end. So, but all the word Indian is tied to all the old treaties from the 1800s, and I've corroborated this, Mike, with more than one source. And if the word Indian itself is quote outlawed, well, then they're on the verge of nullifying all those treaties by de facto.
That's what it is. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
It has to do with the contract and how it's worded.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you're going to get these Ottawa lawyers saying, "Hey, this deal in French, this deal was with the Indians. These aren't the Indians. They're not the Indians. They're indigenous. So the treaty's null and void." I've corroborated this, Mike. I didn't want that because this sounds like, what Joe Biden would call a conspiracy theory, right? Or Trudeau would call a conspiracy theory. I'm saying I believe that more than what I believe coming out of the press. That makes sense to me. And they're trying to take away, remember that 1930 protection of the treaties I think it was for the natural resources. I'm telling you what, these wonderful people up in Alberta, not just the Indians, but all the people who have spoke up and spoken there, and clicked on to vote and logged on social media and liked and stuff, they're speaking loud that they want some freedom here. This Ottawa, I'm telling you, Mike, and Washington, D.C. here too, this is the New Age movement. They are trying to bury us, a tsunami of this kind of thing through the media, of cancel, censor, dox. Cancel, censor, dox, that's a chapter in the book. And it's not going to work. I'm going to let everybody know it's not going to work. The 85% of journalists out there either vote Liberal up in Canada or NDP, and they vote Democrat down here in the States. So the 85% of you that have tried to control the narrative since Trump colluded with Russia, right? The lie of the century. So it's not going to work this time.
Right.
People see right through it. And I don't know how or when or what, but I'll tell you what, the movement is there, the tsunami is there, and people just want their freedom. After those COVID lockdowns, life changed for me, Mike, and life changed for me when I saw Justin Trudeau freeze bank accounts up there. It changed for me. The Frog Lake Conference, I digress there, was invited by the Indians as basically a cordial guest to represent the U.S., as people might or might not know. We have a little U.S. delegation down here in the state of Arizona. We've talked about it a lot in the past, but we have simply been not only promoting, but most importantly, trying to document or get a feel for what people up in Alberta, boots on the ground, actually think. And the question I've been asking, as you know, as I've said a million times, and what the referendum question says right now, the online polling station says, do you want Alberta to be the 51st state of the United States of America? Yes, no, or undecided. And I actually am not kidding you, Mike. I'm serious. I was going to do a press release to the mainstream media, liberal media up there, maybe in the next week or two. I'm serious. To try and find some no's. It's that dramatic of what the people on the ground are saying. I won't know. I'm never going to be specific about things, about numbers, because there's so many trolls and operatives out there right now. Just ask the media back in Washington, D.C. and New York Times and all those guys. So I'm really careful what I say, but I will say I simply can't believe the outpouring of really not only just yeses, but passionate yeses. Get us the hell out of here. We're sick of it. We're sick of our gas prices. We're sick of the stuff that comes in. Every week we hear something more oppressive about Ottawa and Justin Trudeau. They're sick of it. They're sick of it. And I believe that it's us. That's us. It used to be called the silent majority in the Nixon days. It's us that are going to make the difference. And it's going to be starting in 2024 in the United States. So either way, go up to Frog Lake. I had never been to Alberta, flew into Calgary directly from Phoenix to Calgary, nonstop, Lynx Air, great experience, cheap, great experience. And our attaché, I call him my handler, from the tribe, literally picked us up at the airport and drove us. And this you'll know about, Mike. Drove us up past Edmonton. We hadn't planned on doing it. We were going to go right to Frog Lake. We went up past Edmonton, and I realized, well, he's giving me a nice little tour of Alberta because I've never been here. Funny, went to the West Edmonton Mall, never been there before. Saw the ice rink, and I made a cell phone call because I know the guy who built the ice up there when the West Edmonton Mall, the same guy who built the ice for Bremerton Ice Arena, Art Sutherland. So anyhow, it was a great experience. We were taken to a wonderful dinner. You might have, you probably remember, Mike, it was almost like a drive-by of Edmonton. I called you on my cell, and it just didn't, bottom line, it didn't work out for the scheduling, but we were that close, man. But went over to Frog Lake, had a conference on the Saturday, May 6th. It was kind of an all-day thing. And I won't give a lot of details about it because I'm writing about it right now. I'm writing a white paper about my experience. But what I will say, I was really amazed. My eyes were really open with the culture, with the Indian culture, and so many things about it that I really admire and admire now. There are simply things that I learned at 64 years old I never knew. I joke, I felt like Kevin Costner in Dances with Wolves, right? But it was great.
Yeah,
so I smoked a peace pipe.
Did you?
But blessedly, we were invited to the full, and it was a 2-hour plus sweat lodge ceremony. And I'm going to it was the most unbelievable experience, one of the most unbelievable experiences, spiritually, emotionally, and otherwise, that I've ever had in my life. And it was hypnotic. I can to this moment, Mike, I can feel the heat, and I can hear the drums, and I can hear the singing, the traditional singing, because they had it down right. And the leader coming in with a question or an issue of the day, and one was about how much we love our wives and our women, and then they go into a song about it. It was deeply moving spiritual experience. I learned a lot, and I found out a lot, and also I'll be writing a lot about it. It's not all fun and games either, because there's big stuff going on. There's freedom stuff going on. There's a referendum going on. But I want to tell you, it was a once in a lifetime experience for me. I deeply thank every single person up there who I met. And it's funny because I met the wonderful guys at the Alberta 51 Project, right? Those great guys. I love those guys. Paul McGregor, Brian, those guys. But what I find out now, get this, Mike, get this. We're setting up the media and stuff before the conference, and I go to Paul McGregor, and I'm chatting with him. I think you've chatted with him, haven't you, Mike? Paul?
Nope.
one of those guys. Anyhow, Elizabeth, his sister, is the one who set up the Alberta 51 Project website. They're just great people. And Paul's a pastor, Paul McGregor. But anyway, we're chatting, and he's one of the leaders of the AB 51 Project. And we're talking about where we went to school. He says he was kind of back from the East Coast. He was in the Gaspé and Quebec, whatever. Okay, and he said, and then he said to me, I lived in Montreal. I said, okay, where? Right? Okay, Dorval. Okay, where'd you go to school? Dorval High School. Okay, what year? He was a sophomore when I was a senior in Dorval High School, Dorval, Quebec, in Montreal. And we meet in Frog Lake, Alberta, Mike.
No kidding. Hey, we got to stop there. We got a network break coming right up here. When we get back, let's talk a little bit more about this. And because I have a few things to say on the subject as well. But this this is some interesting stuff. Thanks for listening on Mojo 5.
Mike.
What?
Yeah, this is what it's all about. This is what Dueling-Citizens and kicking this stuff is all about, because there's good stuff going on today, Mike.
Okay, we got to go to our network break. We'll be right back, everybody. Stick around.
My mind began to go back when John was writing. I can imagine in my mind, I can imagine he'd been writing for a long time. But God Almighty told him, He told him, seal up your book, John. Don't write no more. That leave me to know one thing, that just like that Bible has the end. Your road, my road, got the end somewhere. Do you believe that? Every road, Lord, I know got the end. Oh, it got the end somewhere. I want to tell the world today that I know. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. Lord, got to end. Oh, I know it is somewhere. Listen to this. I've been over highway, Lord, I've been around crooks and men. God's love will forever stay down in the heart. Righteous man. I don't care who you are.
All right, we're going to be going back live in about 1 minute here on Americanuck Radio. Kind of a light day today, and it's always good to have my friend Greg on. I'll tell you that. And man, when I opened up the mail and found this jersey, I was just like, oh man, that is so cool. That is so cool. And I've got Greg muted right now, so he's emailing me. You've got to play my intro, Mikey. You've got to play my intro. Andrew in England says, peace pipe? What's in that? Mushrooms? You don't smoke mushrooms. Everybody knows that. All right, we're going live with hour 2 of Americanuck Radio in 20 seconds, hooking back up with our radio affiliates. And God is so good. He really is. He really is. I was on the phone praying with people all morning and pastoring, and I love it. God loves you. He does. Here we go, everybody. Hour 2.
With great mojo comes great responsibility. Mojo 50.
And crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Americanuck Radio. News, opinion, and a little irreverence from both sides of the 49th parallel. This is Americanuck Radio with Mike Filip.
Author Greg Meakin nails it. The border catastrophe, gas prices, and runaway inflation, the education mess. Greg sorts it all out and offers Greg's List solutions. Now presenting Dueling-Citizens with Greg Meakin.
There, you got your intro. Are you happy?
Keep forgetting you're the guy with pre-dementia, Mikey. You keep forgetting my intro. Come on, man. It took you a full hour and I had to remind you. Come on now.
Maybe I'm doing it on purpose just to mess with you.
Well, is it because I'm from Quebec? Is that it? Are you messing with me because of that? You say, hey, Frenchie, like you say, hey, Frenchie. I not play your intro, with your Parisian French accent.
We've got a couple of comments I want to read to you here. Chat in Alabama says, it's good to see AB 51 gaining traction in the legacy media. Very cool, yeah. Madeline says, that is a beautiful sight. Love the new logo. I can see it as a flag. Yeah, they did a really good job on that, Madeline, for sure. And it is my hope, too. I love the United States of America. I really do. I know that she has problems. Nobody has to point that out. Every country does. And countries all over the world are in trouble right now. There's a battle going on for the soul and culture and heritage. And it is my hope that through our desire to join the Union, I myself am a U.S. citizen and an Albertan, so, I'm leading by example. But it is my hope that it rekindles your passion for what America was supposed to be at one point. And don't come at me with, it was a Freemason deal and they were in league with King George. Yeah, I know all of that. But I would seriously and even Canada, I mean, there was a time when it was a much more functional nation than it is now, but I believe that time has passed, and I'm fully in for AB 51. Matthew in California says maybe we could join up with the state of Jefferson and make a state bigger than California and Texas. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. There's a lot of division going on within the states. You've got this greater Idaho movement. 25 counties in Idaho, or in Oregon, I should say, have voted to secede from Oregon and Portland and join Idaho. So, I mean, you have this, Northern California, Idaho, Oregon. They're tired of these little city states that impose these ridiculous rules. We've now got the Premier of Saskatchewan has said that if the federal environment minister pursues charges for premiers of provinces within Canada that refuse to enforce federal environmental laws, he said, if I have to go to jail for that, I will. So, there's a big divide happening. And I think, honestly, to be honest with you, Greg, Alberta should have been a part of the United States to begin with. Alberta, Saskatchewan, possibly Manitoba, were always, I think, more culturally proximate and literally on the doorstep of the United States of America anyway. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe a new super conservative, ultra productive, and prosperous territory will emerge out of this. But it's through this process that that's going to happen. Greg.
Well, it's amazing how much we've touched on this stuff. You know how American Alberta is.
Yeah.
And courtesy of Peter Downing on this, right now that border is a beautiful straight line, right, across the western United States, the American border. And in the past, according to Peter, I think I've heard Ben talk about this too with the group, is parts of southern Alberta and parts of Saskatchewan were in U.S. territory. Thank you very much. And fact checkers on that, but sure makes sense to me. And all we ever talk about, Mike, is Alberta's more American than they are Canadian. What I want to, again, I'm just going off really just from my heart here today. It's so nice to be back with you after a couple of weeks and to be rested. I haven't been rested in many, many moons, but I just want to talk to Albertans here, and I really mean this, because I've been able to interact with directly or kind of indirectly with, I'm telling you, hundreds of thousands of Albertans, Mike, plural. And what I want to tell those folks, they're the disenfranchised, and they're us, even us down here, MAGA people are disenfranchised. We're called white supremacists and domestic terrorists and blah, 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 and the press, and you can't get justice, and the press is awful, and blah, blah, blah. But I want to let the people up there in Alberta know that one of my number one goals was simply to find out, of course, not only what percentage would vote yes or no, but also what the feel was on the ground. What are the people going through? What do they really want? You can never tell from the press today. You can't read it in the media.
No.
And I feel like I have a really good grasp on Alberta right now. And I want to let everybody know to not overcomplicate this. To not, I sometimes in any kind of political debates or movements like this, you get a flurry, you get a beehive of activities. There's groups pop up and people pop up, and there's articles that come up like in Fox News Nation, and then bloggers copy paste the article, and it just gets to be a mess. And through the whole thing, the simple question of, do you want to be the 51st state or not? Is it a yes or no or an undecided, simply? And then let's go from there and keep it very, very simple. The most important thing, one of the biggest concerns, I'll let you know concern, because I'm not a rubber stamp, everything's great guy either, Mike. I'm a old business guy. My two biggest concerns now that I've worked with Alberta people, my two biggest concerns, and I'm probably going to put this on my white paper, it's not exclusive to Albertans, it's worldwide, but my two biggest concerns are fear, and anger. This sounds weird. But I got a real big concern that the Albertan folks are really fearful right now, and I mean fearful to the point where they don't want to put their name in any database right now, Mike.
Yeah.
Philip, because of what happened to the convoy thing. And so I'm going, okay. So we have that element, and it really bugs me because on one hand, I say, as we say in America, don't be a pussy, okay? Whatever. Don't be fearful. Don't be scared. But I get it because I lived in Quebec under martial law. I now get it. I can't believe really the fear and anxiety and disenfranchisement that's going on not only up there but down here. I told you this, that during the COVID lockdowns, I felt like it was socialist, oppressive Quebec in the 1970s. It creeped me out because that's called government oppression. So from what I see, I'm very concerned about the fear that Albertans have right now, and what the answer to that is speak up. Don't be scared. Okay? And the second one that I'm concerned with is anger. What I tend to hear from Albertans, and just let's say you hear from yes and no voters, okay? And even on some of the stories I've done on my website, there's lots of comments from no voters. But what I find common in the no voters, Mike, the yes are definitely, they're passionate, they're not being heard, they're frustrated, they want to speak, shout to the rooftops. But these no voters, Mike, these are angry people, and they don't know anything about any of the issues. And it's clouded by their anger. For example, just like our show, you and me go back and forth, Dueling-Citizens. Let's do it back and forth. Let's get common ground. Let's move forward together in a common mission. But there's an attitude with Albertans right now on the left, and I'll tell you that because I've dealt with it directly. It's go to the States, just go be with them. Very angry, like how dare you? This will never happen. Stuff, but really getting angry. And I'm just saying, hey, what's your reasons either way? Either way, I don't need debates or long, big arguments on social media like we've talked about before. But I just find everyone angry on the left.
Yeah, and that's not
that'll never happen. And how dare you even want to be free, Mike Philip? How dare you want to be free up there? Well, hell, I'll tell you what. A lot of Albertans want to be free. I'll tell you that. A lot of them want to be, and it's in the hundreds of thousands. I'm telling you. So if the mainstream media, the politicians, whether it's in Alberta or Ottawa, want to ignore this and dismiss it and think that you don't deserve in Alberta to want nice things, as we say, well, they might be in for a big surprise, Mike, but don't overcomplicate it, everybody up there. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. Participate in the referendum. Yes, no, or undecided. And we'll all gather after the 4th of July. Remember, Canada Day is coming up July 1st with the Blue Angels video, Mike. July 1st, going to be Canada, Alberta, 51 Independence Day. Remember that. And then let's regroup in July and see how we go after this. But keep it simple. And don't argue or fight amongst ourselves. We see that all the time. When you get together, groups or associations or people, whatever, anywhere, any country in the world, you get bickering and what have you. Work together towards a common theme, a common mission, a common goal, which is Alberta 51. And as of this moment, all I'm looking for is one reason to give the United States Senate justification to invite you guys. Because 49% doesn't cut it in the United States Senate, dude. So there you go. Is that my second rant of the day or my first rant of the day?
You touched on something that I want to talk just a little bit more about, and that anger just at the thought of things changing, and like what you said there, it's always the same, and I've noticed the same thing too. They say it'll never happen, and they're very sure of that, and they're very But so if you truly believe in your heart that that's something that is impossible and will not happen, then why would you be angry?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
Is it possible you're insecure and you're jealous and you're a little worried that Alberta might actually take their equalization dough?
Yeah.
I still can't believe it, Mike. What I'm saying, I still can't believe this. How many times have you and I talked about equalization in 34 episodes? And I still can't believe it. That I really mean this. The rest of Canada thinks they're automatically entitled to this money. And Alberta somehow believes they're not entitled to it because they don't deserve nice things.
It's a weird cultural brainwashing.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's weird.
Yeah.
Especially to see what could be the third largest oil reserves in the world, just behind Saudi Arabia, and you guys can't even figure out a way to get your oil back east. You got to buy it from Vladimir Putin or the Middle East, Quebec. Are you kidding me? You can't figure that out. So I'm telling you what, Canada's a lot more screwed up than they want to think, because we remember a Canada of the 1940s, 50s, 60s. I call it the old Canada. That's what I was raised with. This is the new Canada. And other than the great, wonderful people, God, Mikey, you know this, there's some great, 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 wonderful people in Alberta. Great people. Hardest working people you've ever seen. Great people. And love family and love God and love, oil production and good jobs and family wage and, head of household. And mom doesn't have to work mom can stay home with the kids and raise them and self-educate them, whatever, homeschool them. So I know the population wants it, and a bunch of the population. So if you can somehow keep it simple up there and just have no fear and also have no apathy. There's a lot of apathy in the world, Mike. We know that. of not wanting to lift a finger and want to see how things go. Get over your fear. Get over your apathy. And anyone on the left, don't have anger. Just vote no out of pride for Canada. For whatever reason, you vote no. There's a handful of them, but not a lot on the actual referendum. So there you go. I've been thrilled catching up with you on this stuff, Mike. That's why I love our full 2 hours to be able to talk about this stuff.
What's interesting is if so, like when Peter went and did that interview with Fox News about this issue, and then it, like I said, Forbes picked it up, and the National Post in Canada picked it up. But the interesting thing is to go and look at the comments on these different platforms, because Fox News, you get more of a conservative audience that are going there and looking at it and commenting. You get a few trolls that are there just trying to make people angry, but the majority of comments coming from Americans that have never considered this and may not be able to find Alberta on a map, I don't know, they were positive towards it. They liked the idea of a couple of senators from a new red state, and they liked the natural resources aspect, and land bridge to Alaska, all that came up. You got the generic, can we trade you for California, Oregon, and New York, and I mean, there's always that. But what was really interesting to me was if you go to the one on the National Post, which is out of Eastern Canada, and the vitriol towards Alberta, the hatred, the bigotry, like that. I saw, if you read the one on National Post, read the comments, because a lot of them were like, well, how can we make this happen? How can we get, how can we, we'll help you leave. We'll pack your bags. And it's like, settle down, Canuck, eh? Like, what? Why do you, when you see this and you hate America so much, you hate Albertans so much, why the vitriol? Why not just say, you know what? I think it's a good idea because we think very differently, and good luck. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the neighborly thing to do. But no, there's there's a vitriol. Now, the fear that you spoke of, what about the Freedom Convoy? Yeah, if you're ever going to have anything, you have to abandon that. You have to, the signatures of the Declaration of Independence, go read about what those guys lost for having their names on that. And I mean, no, that's how it is. And we have this comfortable Christianity where people think that, you got your glitterbug churches and prosperity, name it and claim it, blab it and grab it. And people think that being a Christian means that you're supposed to be comfortable and wealthy, and not always. No, the original 12 apostles, most of them died horrible deaths defending the faith. And so, that fear. Here's the other thing too. If you're living for God and you're in his will, I watched my brother and his family, you guys have all heard me talk about this, walk right through that border like it was not closed down. Didn't even have to wear masks on the plane, didn't get asked about vaccinations at the height of the border closures in the pandemic. So, like, anything is possible if you trust in God and do not fear. Don't. Seriously.
It's easy to say, but it's tough to do.
It's easy to say, but you got it.
It's tough to do. However, you just brought this up, this East Coast attitude.
Yeah.
And it's not made up. This is real, because remember, Mike, half my friends are on the East Coast, Ontario and Quebec. I specifically don't market to Ontario and Quebec. I don't know if you knew that or not, and I don't ship to Ontario and Quebec because it's just a hostile place. They're just hostile in the media. They're hostile. They're looking for fights, and they don't know anything about the issues. They don't know anything about the issues.
Yeah.
But what you just brought up, the attitude, the chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Once again, we're getting into the abused spouse syndrome here. Maybe you got a little Stockholm syndrome going on here, because guess what? The people from Toronto and Quebec, they even lecture me to this day. Me. It'll never happen. What a bunch of losers even thinking they can do that, right? Right, that's the attitude. They have received, those people have been given $720 billion in equalization monies since the start of the act, according to Ben Ebel at the 51 Group. $720 billion given to primarily Ontario and Quebec, and $200 billion given directly to Quebec. With all Quebec's natural resources and stuff, $200 billion. And these are the people that are dissing you guys in Alberta.
Yeah.
Americans are saying, keep your $20 billion a year.
Yeah, let's do business.
Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. Especially if you're under the protection of the U.S. Constitution. You can negotiate contracts with the rest of Canada if they want to buy your oil, but that's an American contract. This is no monkey business here. Alberta needs to keep what they have because they don't deserve to live a half-rate life, a second-rate life. They don't deserve it, Mike. But they do have to speak up. They have to lift a finger and do something between now and not only referendum day, but working with, hopefully, fingers crossed, with the U.S. Senate between now and 2024. There you go.
The other thing, too, and this lends into it, is that like 85 to 90% of our GDP, not just in Alberta but across Canada, is due to cross-border trade with the United States.
Sure.
And so, to have that inherent hatred of the United States of America and Alberta for the East, they're literally biting the hand that feeds while suppressing the ability to turn a buck at home. It's the definition of a welfare state. And there's no reason that Alberta could not be rich like Dubai. We have more resources than those places have. There's no, you look at an economy like California, as screwed up as the state of California is, as messed up as it is, it has a bigger economy than all of Canada combined. Texas has a bigger economy than all of Canada combined. Little states that just and we've got Andre Corbel over in the chat here. Andre, good to see you. He's saying, we've been taken over by the UN and vassal nation. I'm aware of all that line of thinking, but it's time to redraw some lines, and I think that Alberta cutting ties with Canada and strengthening the United States would go a long way to that, because part of that whole UN Cloward and Piven thing is about destroying the United States. So we've got to bring it back.
Correct. It's a strategic thing, and if anything, we've talked about this a million times, Mike. Alberta would be a great example, a leader of the 50 states. And the 50 states would benefit greatly from having her. And Alberta, you really got to keep it down to earth, and I mean this. And people always ask me, well, what does life look like in Alberta under the U.S.? What does it look like? There's no big change. Keep your Canadian flag, stay as Canadian as you want, blah, 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 blah. But your gas will be, look under the benefits. Remember the benefits checklist that we had on the voting website? Look at that. It's what will daily life look like for Albertans? And it starts with probably 45 cents a liter gas and down from there. We brought up in a previous show, in Kuwait or whatever, or Saudi, they pay 14 cents a liter, 14 cents, because they have a lot of oil there and they share it with their residents. Everything from oil royalties to citizens, dual citizenship from birth for you, your kids, your grandkids. How about $50 cell bills or $75 cell bills? How about that? How about 10 times more selection at the grocery store and at 40% less cost? How about that? Would that work out great? And that's simply daily life under the U.S. Constitution, not what you see in the news. Not what you see in the news. And if you like that daily life, you can have it, Mike. You know that, Mike. I know that you guys can have that. You know it. Countries change all the time. Borders change over the course of thousands of years. As countries get annexed, they get partnerships. Alberta can be the 51st state of the United States. The founding fathers have already keep a provision for that, because of the very issues we've talked about in the past, Mike, of Canada, how they were so in the dark when Britain took them over. They were illiterate. They didn't know what was going on. They had made, a lot of tribal guys out there, and Britain just took them over. They just assumed them. We know that. And so the U.S. kept the door open anytime you provinces wanted to come back, whether it's 51, 52, 53. let's go on from there. The door will be open as long as your people want it, your people, in this case Albertans, and as long as 50+1 in the U.S. Senate says yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
No
so there
kidding.
you go. We've had the chat, right?
We did.
For anyone who hasn't heard us talk in the last year, Mike, this is what we've been talking about, and it really is good stuff, and it's important for people to hear. It's important.
I like this conversation, and it's getting bigger. It's gaining a lot of traction. Andre, love you too, buddy. Thanks, man. He says the chemtrail program over Calgary is heavy. We're getting sprayed 3 to 4 times daily. I'm noticing that too. It's very, very, very thick here. And it's also causing breathing problems in a lot of people. I'm not talking about the smoke from the wildfires either, but I have had people commenting to me that there have been increased respiratory problems. And I know that my listeners on Mojo 50 don't want to hear about that, but I can't deny what I see with my eyes above my head. It's not normal. And it has been very heavy in the Edmonton area too, Andre. Let's go to our commercial break. And when we get back, we've got a 25-minute segment left with our radio affiliates. And then we're going to do 9th hour prayer today. So if any of you have any requests, we're going to remember to pray for Heather again today. And let's pray for Andrew over in England and his friend and his little dog too. We'll be back after this on Americanuck Radio. Everybody stick around with Greg freaking Meakin. And then tomorrow we have a One God Apostolic Jesus Name Baptism, Acts 2:38, missionary to the Middle East. A lot. Snack bar.
You want to wake up refreshed, like you slept on a cloud. Get yourself the very best in bedding supplies today. You deserve it. Go to MyPillow.com, and don't forget our very special promo code, Mojo50, for incredible savings.
At Meakin Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Meakin Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logoed designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Meakin Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at RoMeikaDesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@RoMeikaDesigns.com, or visit us on the web at RoMeikaDesigns.com.
5 major food distributors have suffered explosions at food processing and storage facilities in the last few months. 20 more facilities have been destroyed by fires over the last 4 months. War in Ukraine drags on and holds the looming threat of nuclear escalation. U.S. inflation is officially reported above 8%. Mobs of people are whipped into frenzy by an increasingly unstable class of political elites. We live in interesting times. Political, economic, and financial collapse are all very real threats to our way of life. If the worst happens, make sure you and your loved ones are prepared with emergency food and supplies from preparewithmojo50.com. That's preparewithmojo50.com. Coffee lovers everywhere now have the opportunity to do their part to save the planet with Al Gore's lab-grown coffee substitute. We, here at Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change, believe this is a terrible idea. While man-bun-wearing, soy latte-loving poodle walkers everywhere are in love with the eco-friendly lab-grown sadness water, Coffee Drinkers for Climate Change want to see the sea levels rise And for New York City to join the lost city of Atlantis, 12,000 leagues beneath the sea.
American Pride Roasters, historically great coffee. Every pot brewed is an eco-disaster 100 times greater than the Fukushima extinction level event. So order yours today and do your part to hasten the end of the planet. You don't want to live forever, do you? AmericanPrideRoasters.com. That's AmericanPrideRoasters.com.
How dare you?
We dare. We dare.
Flat Earth, the moon landing, JFK, 5G, Biden won the election. Hey, lovelies, does anyone have any new conspiracy theories? Because all the ones I know have come true. Join me, Ria Bow, here on Sunday Long Live Radio, live every Sunday of the year, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard, 10 a.m. UK, and 9 p.m. New South Wales. I'll see you Sunday.
Americanuck Radio.
I would say the world's most underrated radio shows. Americanuck Radio. This guy, Mike Filip, is brilliant. I listen to him every day. Love your show. I really do. I'm a huge fan. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Americanuck Radio.
I'm gonna walk them golden stairs, 'cause I know my Jesus answers all my prayers. Well, I know when he calls me to my home on high, I'll walk them golden stairs when I die.
Americanuck Radio.
When Jesus says to me.
Welcome back to Americanuck Radio. Last segment for Thursday, and we've got Greg freaking Meakin on. We've been talking about AB51. His son Carson made this. I'm going to show everybody the logo one more time here. This is really cool what he did. This is the AB51 crest that Greg's son made. And they had that put on a hockey jersey. And yesterday I went to the mail, and boom, there it is. And I'll turn around for everybody that's watching on Rumble so you can see it. It's got the number 51, Alberta, USA on the bottom. And Filip on the back. And yeah, I was pretty giddy to pick that up out of the mail. I was not expecting it. Thank you so much, Greg. And I'm going to wear that downtown and just see what kind of a reaction I get from people. It'll be interesting to find out. But
dude, see if the RCMP will toss you in jail or something, Mikey. How about that?
Yeah, right.
Just like the old days. Just like the old days. You get tossed in jail, Mikey. How about that?
I haven't been in jail in a long time. I used to spend a fair amount of time there cooling off because I was a hothead. But, yeah, I haven't been in jail in a long time.
Oh, I love it. We've had those great chats on the air before. We really have. No matter what, if you ever need to pick me up, and I'm serious too, Mike. I have most of the episodes and a lot of the clips on my YouTube channel. If you ever need to pick me up, just listen to some of our old episodes or some of our old clips, because they were really, really good. But they cover the gamut. Like you say, it's weird. Just a quick jumping branch here is I'm a unique little brand here. This Dueling-Citizens thing, and I'm I'm really pragmatic, north, south of the border, blah, 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 teaching each country the differences between the other, etc. But it's not a hard right brand because I have so much liberal in me. The old Republictarian thing, a cross between a Republican and a Libertarian. And I was raised in Canada and Montreal, so I was raised with real liberal laws. And there's a lot of things I love about, quote, liberalism, but from the old days liberalism. But the more I see it every day now, the new Canada and basically the new United States, we have to make some changes, Mike.
Yeah.
We got to make some changes in this society. I mean, we have to.
Yeah, I was done with Canada a long time ago, and in fact, I even let them know in writing. I told them, well, there ain't no more me and you. And I haven't heard from any Canadian agency since 2014. It's been that long. Nice. And so, no, I walk the walk. I put my money where my mouth is and my my blood and lack of treasure. But I've got a better treasure waiting for me. So,
yes, sir. Yes, you do. Isn't it nice? This is the stuff we've been talking about really the past year. It's really good stuff, Mike. It really is. I never cease to be surprised. I really mean it. And we've said this so many times on the air. I've never ceased to be surprised with how little Americans know about Canada and how little Canadians know about America. Because if you listen to anyone, especially back east up in Canada, they know it all, right? They're like teenagers, right? Hire someone from Toronto, why they still know it all, right? But the mandatory Toronto thrashing there, man. Like I told you off the air, in anything I write, it's an old habit of Montreal Canadians. We trash the Leafs, right? We trash the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think I told you earlier in the show.
It's like Edmonton and Calgary, yeah.
What was that?
It's like Edmonton and Calgary. Yeah, it's a regional thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It goes back 100 years. By the way, I told my wife this the other day. Tim Hortons, right? I went to a Tim Hortons up in Alberta, and I learned what an ice cap is, which is really cool. But I'm sitting there with Deborah, and I'm saying, no one knows. You know, everyone talks Tim Hortons. We've talked about it on the air. And I say, people don't remember. I remember watching Tim Hortons with the Toronto Maple Leafs play at the old Montreal Forum in the 1960s.
Wow, you're really old.
Dude, old. But the most underrated thing, here's two secrets about Tim Hortons.
You were watching Tim Horton play hockey before I was even born.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, hey, you were everything cool in the world happened before you were born, right? Then the world turned to crap, right? Right?
Thanks.
No, but seriously, okay. Tim Horton was, and I'm serious. He was like Dave Keon. He's one of the few players that we really respected because Montreal fans are the most arrogant in the world, and they deserve to be, because it's just a standard of excellence in Montreal hockey. But Tim Horton, the underrated thing about him is he was a tough guy. He was a good fighter, Mike.
Oh, really?
And yeah. He was tall. I'm guessing off of memory. I think he's like a 6'2", 6'3" guy, but he was a tough guy. And another secret here is, I get this, I'm dating myself. 1978, Mohawk College, Hamilton, Ontario, business class. Our case study for the entire semester was what was brand new. It was called a Tim Hortons donut franchise. And I don't know when he first opened. This was 1978. And we were analyzing as college kids in Hamilton. You know, Hamilton, for my American friends, is just, 20 minutes from Toronto, half hour from Toronto, whatever. But Tim Horton Donuts, and they had like P&L statements and stuff, doing due diligence on these Tim Horton little franchise, because it was a new concept at the time. I think, I'm going off of memory, you could pay like, I don't know, $10,000 or something to buy a franchise. Not sure. It was pretty cheap. But yeah, and then doing the whole P&L and the pro forma, and the net of the class was anyone in Canada, if they can pull together a little money, can buy a Tim Hortons franchise. That was beautifully, and Tim Horton wanted it that way, so anyone could buy one. But secondly, if you did, and you worked your butt off, and he wanted hands-on operators. So you work. You're not some operator from California or across the water. You're working in the franchise. He wanted that. Tim wanted that. And what you could do, you work hard, and at the end of the year, you could pay yourself. It was like $85,000 a year. And on one hand, I said, that doesn't sound like a lot for risking your life. But on the other hand, $85,000 is probably equivalent to maybe $250,000 now, maybe more. And the message, the whole thing, and this is old Canada, Mike. Any Canadian that wanted to be an entrepreneur and wanted to live literally, kind of like the U.S. Freedom capitalism way of life, could buy a Tim Hortons franchise and actually make a living. Not be wealthy, but make a living doing it. So there's my inside secret on Timmy's, man. But I've never had an ice cap, and I'm glad I did, because they're great. They are great.
I'm not a huge... I actually prefer 7-Eleven coffee over Tim Hortons, but I have one today because my wife and I stopped by there this morning. It's a weird national obsession with Tim Hortons. It's almost like some kind of identity thing with Canadians, but...
oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know?
Hey, whatever.
We've joked that Canadians don't have a lot to latch onto. Seriously. We've talked about that, Mike. Come on, man. I still say, I don't care if it sounds like an arrogant American. Remember, I'm half Canadian, first half in Montreal, second half in Seattle. But I don't care what anyone says, and I've told you this. I've written about this. Americans don't care what you guys think. You don't care if you don't like their guns. They don't. I mean, they don't, because they're Americans.
Yeah.
And they know that every other culture in the world wants to be like them. And if they don't think so, just guess what? Las Vegas is Las Vegas. Nobody does anything like Las Vegas in the world. American Idol, that was the franchise. Now everyone around the world copies it, right? Everyone's copycats. But it's still American franchises. To go for the listeners that never heard this in past episodes, Mike and I have talked a lot about it's called kind of that jealousy against or anger against America and Americans. We know we've had whole shows on that, and I've said it, like in my book, I compared that and I said, I really do believe that the vast majority of Canadians have a deep admiration for the United States and what they are, and for Americans. They really do. They show it in that they love their products, their consumer goods, their music, their sports. But I think there's a deeper admiration. However, as I wrote in my book, anyone who's that spiteful person against the United States, I believe, as I said, I think I'm going to quote myself here, have a deep, personal repressed jealousy or immature political envy. Remember that line? Because it is. I think they just respect the states, and we've talked about this. It's either little man syndrome or whatever. So the whole segue back to that is, if Tim Hortons is an absolute wonderful icon for Canada and they love it, that's great. I think that there's nothing wrong with that, and I'll tell everybody now. I watched Tim Horton play hockey, and this guy was a first-class, first-rate individual. Also, I will say that from first-hand experience.
Good stuff, yeah. The other thing, too, there's a lot of jealousy. The other thing, the media portrays the United States as being monolithic, like it's the exact same across the board. It's not. I have family in Tennessee, South Carolina, Idaho, all over the place, right? And like my brother living in Idaho, we talk about it all the time because he moved there from here. And Idaho is an awesome state. I would live in Idaho in a second.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, not only that, but I mean, just their shared values of the state. Let's put it that way. Like, there's a reason that the vast majority of Oregon wants to join the state of Idaho. But the other thing that he noticed too is that, like, okay, so he works on a crew. They do electrical work, and they had to go to I think they had to go to a state house in Sacramento, California. And him and his crew, they were waiting outside because there was a cracked out maniac inside. So all the employees were outside, so they couldn't go in and do what they wanted to do. My brother was like, well, let's go in and nab them. Let's go get them. And the guys that he was with were like, well, we can't because we don't have our guns. We can't bring them to California. And my brother's like, he's a crackhead. Let's just go get him, right? So I mean, they were kind of reticent to do anything if they didn't have their guns on them. He noticed maybe they were just those guys. The other thing too is that in states where you can carry, my brother was telling me, like, because he does have to go to Salt Lake City, Portland, Oregon, places in California. What he was saying was that in states where you can have your guns, like Idaho, he said you never feel like you need it. He said when you go into the states where you can't carry, then you're kind of wishing you had it on you.
Well, because you know what, Mike, there's truth to that.
Yeah.
That's what the statistics say.
Yeah.
Second Amendment states are the safest in the union. A message to Alberta on this. Because again, we know we keep coming back to Alberta, but it relates to this because Albertans, just the ones I know, they love the Second Amendment. I mean, I don't know the urban Calgary folks, the liberals and stuff, but they love their Second Amendment. They love to be a U.S. state. What I say to all of them is, number one, of course, like you say, Mike, the monolithic thing. All 50 states are completely different. They're 50 little countries.
Yeah.
You know, under an umbrella of federal protection in Washington, D.C. And Alberta would just be number 51. And when you go through the states, what I love about this, and I love it about the states, Mike, you could live in Hawaii. It's a U.S. state. You know, you could live in Utah. You live in Vermont, California, who would want that? You go to Texas. I chose Arizona. I chose Arizona 3 years ago when I retired, disability, because of the prices, the economy, and the weather. But I would pay 3 times more money monthly for a condo up in Seattle or up in Canadian cities right now. So that's why I chose Arizona. But how nice to have the choice. The choice. You know, I was born in New Hampshire. I'd love New Hampshire. The Midwest, well, I'll tell you what, South Dakota with Christy Nome. That'd be a great place to live right now, just from a cost of living, and they have no unemployment, and they, you know, just really, really nice states. But the bottom line, Alberta could be the signature state that she wants to be. You automatically have the respect. I'm telling you, all of America backs this. Okay, Americans back this. You know this, Mike. The comments and this and that. They love this idea.
Yep.
They love it. So you got respect from down here. There's nothing you have to sell down here to Americans. But Alberta could be a 51st state and be any style you want. You already have your own brand. You've got Banff. You've got your beautiful cities. There's a hockey panache. There's a panache to Alberta. So keep that identity. You're just living under the protection of the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights from day one.
Yeah,
and the minute that Albertans could picture it, the minute they would love it. They really would.
Well, it's so funny, too, because that whole monolithic thinking about the United States, that's the other thing. The media in Canada convinces people that, you know, people are getting shot up in schools all across the nation every single day. And I've had them say that to me. I don't want Alberta to be a state because I don't want school shootings. Well, I tell them, people around you have guns all around you. I have guns in a cabinet in the room next to me. My neighbors, they have guns, and they don't wake up. Like, you think if the flag changed outside the school and the post office, everybody would suddenly wake up and go shoot up a school? That's stupid.
This is right. It is. It's stupid. It's unresearched.
Yeah.
It's unresearched, Mike. It's what did Rush Limbaugh call it? The underinformed voter.
Yeah.
They don't know anything.
No.
You talked about open carry, because we've talked about this open carry a lot, and you always joke, hey, living in Arizona, do you ever worry about getting shot going down to the grocery store? And the funny thing is, I was even going to relay this to you on the air. Just because it's open carry, we don't see guns. Honestly, we don't see a lot at all of people packing physically. You know, you got them. They got them, but
you know they're there,
because it's an open. Yeah. But this is the whole bloody point, as they say up in Canada. Crooks don't do bad things when they know everybody in the convenience store's got a gun, Mike.
Yeah.
You know, right? They don't go in and rob convenience stores, and rightly so, because that convenience store owner and any good Samaritan lawfully carrying a firearm should have the right to shoot that guy and or confront that guy if he's trying to rob, do harm to a citizen, in this case, the store owner.
Yeah.
You know?
Look, don't get me wrong. I don't think that a gun in and of itself is inherently going to save you. You need to pray every morning and make sure that you get in touch with Jesus, and you've got his protection on yourself and on your family, your kids, your mother, your father, whoever. But I am pro Second Amendment, just to be clear. I don't think that guns are the be all end all of saving your life. But yeah, they're places where more people have them are definitely more safe. I mean, we have stabbings in Edmonton now, like constantly. I'm a constant headline. We had a guy, a Sudanese migrant, stabbed to death a woman in her 30s with her little 11-year-old daughter, and they were just walking across the school parking lot, and this guy ran up and stabbed them both to death. And so, I mean, there was no gun in that situation.
Humans are awful, can be awful people. Yeah. And London, remember the rash of awful crime in London when they loosened things up, like whatever it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. It was awful crime in London. You know, one thing I want to clarify here, because you mentioned you're a Second Amendment guy, and most guys I know are. I want to be real clear with folks listening. I don't think a Second Amendment supporter is the same as a pro-gun guy. It's almost two different arguments. Not too different, but want to let people know I am the most, I'm not going to say anti-gun, but I've told you this, Mike, I've never owned a gun. I don't like guns. I'm from Canada. I'm from Montreal, period. It's just, I think there were 118 murders in Montreal in the 70s, whatever. It's just not whatever. It was a good place. But I was never a gun guy. I came down to the States in 1983. And I said, hey, dude, what's with you American guys and your guns, dude? I mean, you're nuts. Okay, so that's the pro-gun, anti-gun thing. However, get to the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is a totally different deal. And even the most peacenik person and the most non-gun, like Greg freaking Meakin, are staunchly pro-Second Amendment because it gives the citizen the right to bear arms against not only criminals, hello, who want to break into your house, hello, but against a tyrannical government that doesn't want you to have guns and will take you over. And if anyone says, oh, a government wouldn't do that, the old, I call it old Canada, right, 67, a government would never do that. Well, no one saw this freedom convoy garbage where they put innocent people in jail and they froze bank accounts. Our government can do worse things than we maybe picture. So that is what the Second Amendment is for, because the Founding Fathers wanted to make sure that what became this 50 states was able to protect themselves, and even from other states. California turned out to be a grease fire. And so that's the whole point, is the citizen has the right under God to protect themselves, period. And that's the Second Amendment, period.
Greg, we've got about 5 minutes left in the last segment of Hour 2 on Americanuck Radio today.
Wow.
And then we're going to cut off from Mojo 50 and do our 9th hour prayer. Have your requests ready. Matthew says the number one cause of death in Alberta was Alzheimer's, and we need to pray for the poor and infirm and older people that they are taken care of. And that's another mark of a sodomite nation, one that does not care about the poor and the elderly. We're going to get into that. I'm going to do a Bible study on that one of these days. The markers are all around you, but that doesn't mean that you have to live that way. It doesn't mean that you can have power to walk above all of that in your life. Greg, we've got 4 minutes left. What would you like to leave everybody with before we let you go?
Wow. Thank you, as ever, Mike. And 4 minutes is an eternity when it comes to you and I, because we can get more done in 30 seconds than a Joe Biden administration can get done in 4 years, my friend. I really mean this too. It's a new, fresh show. It's a new, fresh Greg for me, because I'm rested for the first time in a long time. Took a couple of weeks off, and I cannot believe how deluged I've been with emails, social media stuff, everything from the jerseys. Mike, thank you so much for your kind words here and stuff. I've been deluged, and I have had reporters calling me and stuff, of which I'll keep people posted on. But the key for me, at least, not only is the message of Alberta, just keep it simple and do what you need to do right now. Lift a finger and don't be apathetic and don't be fearful. Just vote and try and be the 51st state of the United States. You'll love it. But my website, gregmeakin.com, that's GregMeakin.com. There's a bio of me there called About Greg. That's where a lot of people are referencing these days. They're saying, hey, who the hell is this dual citizen guy? And also the trending section. You've heard it before, Mike, but that trending section I post hopefully weekly or daily, and there's some updates literally as of yesterday on my trending section. And of course my YouTube channel. I just posted, believe it or not, I caught up because I took time off, Mikey. I caught up and I just posted, I think, about 30 clips of Americanuck Radio on my YouTube channel in the last 48 hours. So fun stuff, good references. Follow the AB51 group, the AB51 Project, AB51project.com. They're the place to be as far as getting information, as well as the Facebook group. So upwards and onwards. Let's get out the vote in June for the June 30th referendum. Let's look forward to Alberta Independence Day on July 1st. And then let's all go from there. How fun! I thank you once again, Mikey. You're my friend. You're my brother. You're my pastor, man. And I thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Frenchie.
I still like the idea of doing a whole episode in French. Really mess up the people in Alberta. Because I'll tell you something about Alberta. I all love you guys, but you guys don't speak French, okay? I guarantee you don't speak French.
I live in the Frenchest town in Alberta. I don't know how it happened, but it just did.
Seriously? Oh, I'll bet you there are. I'll bet you there are a lot of Quebecers, I'll bet you, that left René Lévesque's socialism and stuff. I'll bet you. So how fun. Great show today, Mikey. Thank you. And thank you to all you listeners. You know who you are. All you regulars in the chat and the people that are emailing me and stuff. GregMeakin2020@gmail.com is my email address. And especially on these jerseys, if you want to know about them or maybe be on the list to get one, let me know, because by popular demand, I'm going to make them available somehow in the next couple of weeks. So there you go, Mikey. Thanks for that, man.
You bet. We're out of time, everybody. We're going to disconnect. Thank you for listening to Mojo 50 and WBN 324. If you're on Rumble, it's time for 9th Hour Prayer. We'll be right back after this.
On Jesus' program.